Is this some kind of joke? Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Brooks's voice was sharp as she gestured toward the defendant's table. Her tone carried the particular contempt reserved for those she considered beneath her attention. At 28, fresh from 3 years at a major firm, she'd taken this public defender position to build trial experience. She saw cases like this as easy wins. An open and shut assault case against an overzealous rent-a-cop. Lawrence Morrison sat at the defense table in his only suit, a simple gray affair that had seen better days. At 68, his face was weathered, his hair white, his hands folded calmly on the table. His court-appointed attorney, a harried public defender named Marcus Chen, looked exhausted. He had 43 other cases this month. The courtroom was nearly empty. Just another minor assault case in county court, not worth the media's attention. Judge Patricia Hendricks presided, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who'd seen every type of case imaginable. "Ms. Brooks," Judge Hendricks said, "please present your opening statement." Jennifer stood, her expensive suit and confident bearing a stark contrast to the humble man she was prosecuting. "Your Honor, this is a straightforward case of assault and battery. The defendant, Mr. Lawrence Morrison, a mall security guard, physically attacked my client, 23-year-old Derek Walsh, without provocation. Mr. Walsh was simply walking through Riverside Mall when this man," she gestured dismissively at Lawrence, "grabbed him violently, threw him to the ground, and restrained him with excessive force." She clicked to display photos on the screen. Derek's face showed bruising, his arm in a sling. "My client suffered injuries requiring medical treatment. And for what? Because an elderly security guard with delusions of authority decided to play real cop. This is exactly the kind of vigilante behavior our justice system exists to prevent." Derek Walsh sat in the gallery, his young face arranged in an expression of wounded innocence. He caught Lawrence's eye and smirked. Judge Hendricks turned to the defense table. "Mr. Chen, your opening?" Marcus Chen stood, shuffling papers. He'd gotten this case yesterday when Lawrence's original public defender quit. He barely knew the details. "Your Honor, we intend to show that Mr. Morrison's actions were justified. He believed Mr. Walsh was in immediate danger and acted to protect him." Jennifer actually laughed. "Protect him? By assaulting him?" "Your Honor, this is absurd. The defendant is a mall security guard, not a police officer. He has no authority to physically restrain anyone without witnessing a crime, and no crime was being committed. Mr. Morrison observed behavior he interpreted as threatening," Chen countered weakly. "What behavior?" Jennifer pressed. "Walking through a mall? Being young? This is profiling at best, assault at worst." Judge Hendricks looked at Lawrence. "Mr. Morrison, you understand the charges against you?" Lawrence stood slowly. "Yes, Your Honor." "You understand you're facing up to 18 months in county jail if convicted?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Then sit down and let your attorney speak for you." Jennifer called her first witness. Derek Walsh took the stand, swearing to tell the truth with a hand on the Bible. His testimony was polished, rehearsed. "I was just walking through the mall. I'd been shopping, looking at shoes. This old security guard started following me. At first, I thought it was weird, but whatever, right? Mall cops follow people sometimes. But then, out of nowhere, he grabbed me from behind, threw me to the ground. I thought I was being attacked. I tried to defend myself, but he's surprisingly strong for an old guy. He had me pinned. I was screaming for help." "Did he say why he was attacking you?" Jennifer asked. "He kept saying something about saving me and they're watching. Honestly, I think he's senile. He probably thought I was someone else. It was terrifying." "And you suffered injuries?" "Dislocated shoulder, bruised ribs, facial contusions. The doctors said I was lucky it wasn't worse." Jennifer turned to the judge. "Your Honor, this is elder abuse in reverse. An elderly man who clearly isn't fit for security work attacking innocent civilians. The mall should never have hired him." Marcus Chen stood for cross-examination, but before he could speak, Lawrence touched his arm. "May I ask a few questions, Your Honor?" Judge Hendricks frowned. "Mr. Morrison, You have an attorney for that. I understand, Your Honor, but I'd like to ask Mr. Walsh directly, if permitted. Jennifer objected immediately. Absolutely not. The defendant can't cross-examine the victim. Actually, Judge Hendricks said slowly, defendants are allowed to represent themselves if they choose. Mr. Morrison, are you dismissing your counsel? No, Your Honor. Just asking if I can supplement with a few questions. The judge considered this. I'll allow 3 questions. Lawrence stood and walked toward the witness stand. His movements were deliberate, calm. Derek's confident smirk faltered. Mr. Walsh, you testified you were just shopping, looking at shoes. What store were you in? Derek blinked. I don't remember the name. Riverside Mall has 4 shoe stores. Foot Locker, Finish Line, DSW, and Nordstrom Rack. Which one? I don't know. I was looking at several. You were carrying a shopping bag when I detained you. What was in it? Objection! Jennifer called. Relevance? Ms. Brooks established my client was just shopping. I'm clarifying what he purchased. I'll allow it. Answer the question, Mr. Walsh. Derek shifted uncomfortably. I don't remember. Just stuff. You don't remember what you bought 20 minutes before being detained? It was 3 weeks ago. Lawrence nodded slowly. 3rd question. You testified I said they're watching. Who did I mean? Derek's eyes darted to the gallery. I don't know. You were saying crazy stuff. Thank you. Lawrence returned to his seat. Jennifer looked annoyed but confident. The defense is grasping at straws. Whether Mr. Walsh remembers which shoe store is irrelevant to the assault. Noted, Judge Hendricks said. Ms. Brooks, other witnesses? Yes, the prosecution calls Officer Jamie Rodriguez. A young police officer took the stand. He'd been the responding officer. Officer Rodriguez, when you arrived, what did you observe? I observed the defendant restraining the complainant on the ground. The complainant was in distress. Mr. Morrison refused to release him until I identified myself. Did Mr. Morrison explain why? He said something about preventing a crime, but couldn't articulate what crime. His answers were vague. Kept saying I wouldn't understand, and there were people I couldn't see. Did that sound rational? No, ma'am. It sounded like paranoia. I've responded to calls involving elderly cognitive decline before. Jennifer smiled. So, in your professional opinion, Mr. Morrison appeared confused? Objection, Chen said weakly. Sustained. Officer Rodriguez isn't qualified for psychological assessments. I'll rephrase. Did Mr. Morrison seem to understand the situation clearly? Not from my perspective, no. Jennifer turned to Lawrence. Your witness. Marcus Chen stood, but again Lawrence touched his arm. Your Honor, may I? Judge Hendricks sighed. 2 questions, that's it. Lawrence approached. Officer Rodriguez, how long have you been with the department? 3 years. And have you worked major crimes? No, sir. Patrol division. So you wouldn't recognize someone conducting surveillance or undercover work? Rodriguez hesitated. I suppose not. But there was no... Thank you, officer. Lawrence returned to his seat. Jennifer was on her feet. Your Honor, is the defendant suggesting he was conducting undercover work? He's a mall security guard. Ms. Brooks, you'll have time for rebuttal, Judge Hendricks said. She looked at her watch. 15-minute recess. Mr. Morrison, when we return, I expect you to present your defense. And I strongly suggest you let Mr. Chen talk. During recess, Marcus Chen leaned over. What are you doing? You're making this worse. Lawrence remained calm. Trust me for a little longer. Trust you? I don't even know you. You're a security guard who overstepped. The best I can do is plead down. I wasn't overstepping, Lawrence said quietly. I was doing my job. My real job. Chen blinked. What? When court resumed, Judge Hendricks looked expectantly at the defense table. Mr. Chen, does the defense wish to present any witnesses or evidence? Marcus Chen stood, looking uncertain. Your Honor, the defense calls Lawrence Morrison to the stand. Lawrence took the stand and was sworn in. Chen approached, still looking confused by their recess conversation. Mr. Morrison, can you explain in your own words what happened on the day in question? Lawrence looked directly at the judge. I was conducting surveillance on a suspected drug distribution network operating inside Riverside Mall. Derek Walsh wasn't shopping. He was a courier, being coerced by dealers to move product. I intervened because I recognized the signs of a forced handoff, and Mr. Walsh was in immediate danger. Jennifer was on her feet instantly. Objection! Your Honor, this is fantasy. Surveillance? Drug networks? He's a mall security guard with delusions of being law enforcement. Mr. Morrison, Judge Hendricks said, her patience clearly wearing thin. Do you have any evidence to support these claims? Yes, Your Honor. If I may? Lawrence reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small notebook. This contains 3 weeks of surveillance notes. Dates, times, individuals, patterns consistent with drug distribution. Jennifer laughed. A notebook? Your Honor, anyone can write anything in a notebook. I also have this. Lawrence reached into his other pocket and placed something on the witness stand railing. It was a badge. Not a mall security badge. A police shield, tarnished with age but unmistakable. The courtroom went quiet. That's a police badge, Judge Hendricks said. Where did you get that? It's mine, Your Honor. Captain Lawrence Morrison, badge number 1847, Metropolitan Police Department, Major Crimes Unit. I retired in 2008 with 30 years of service. Jennifer's confident expression cracked. Your Honor, this is irrelevant. Even if he was once a police officer, he has no authority now. Retired officers can't just… Actually, Lawrence interrupted calmly, I'm not conducting official police business. I'm a private citizen who recognized criminal activity and acted to prevent harm, which is legal under citizens' arrest statutes when witnessing a felony. You didn't witness a felony, Jennifer snapped. You witnessed a young man walking through a mall. I witnessed a forced narcotics transaction. Mr. Walsh was carrying approximately 200 grams of fentanyl in that shopping bag. He was being watched by 2 enforcers from the East Side crew, and if he'd tried to run or been caught by mall security without completing the handoff, he would have been killed. I detained him to remove him from their line of sight and protect his life. The courtroom erupted. Judge Hendricks banged her gavel. Order! Mr. Morrison, these are serious allegations. Do you have proof? The shopping bag was logged into evidence by Officer Rodriguez. Has anyone tested its contents? All eyes turned to Officer Rodriguez, still sitting in the gallery. He looked uncomfortable. The bag just had… I thought it was clothes and stuff. We didn't test it. Why would we? It wasn't relevant to the assault charge. Jennifer was scrambling. Your Honor, even if there were drugs in a bag, which I'm not conceding, that doesn't give this man the right to assault someone. He's not a police officer anymore. I used minimum necessary force to restrain someone I believed was in imminent danger and involved in felony drug trafficking, Lawrence said. That's textbook citizen's arrest doctrine. Judge Hendricks leaned back. Mr. Morrison, I'm going to ask you a direct question. Why is a retired police captain working as a mall security guard? Lawrence's expression softened. Because after 30 years on major crimes, you don't stop seeing crime. It doesn't disappear when you turn in your badge. The East Side crew has been using Riverside Mall as a distribution hub for 6 months. I recognized the pattern, so I took a job there to document it. Document it for whom? For myself initially. I planned to turn everything over to the department's narcotics division once I had enough evidence. But then, I saw Derek Walsh being forced into this. He's not a dealer. He's a kid with a gambling debt who got trapped. When I saw the handoff was happening and the enforcers were there, I knew if he tried to back out, or if anything went wrong, they'd kill him. So, I acted. Jennifer was flipping through papers frantically. Your Honor, I need time to verify these claims. This is completely outside the scope of the original charges. I need to speak with the Narcotics Division. Verify this badge. Your Honor, a new voice called from the back. Everyone turned. A man in his 50s, wearing a suit with a detective's shield on his belt, was standing. Detective Mark Sullivan, Metro PD Narcotics. May I approach? Judge Hendricks nodded, her expression unreadable. Please do. Detective Sullivan walked to the front of the courtroom. He looked at Lawrence and nodded with what appeared to be respect, then turned to the judge. Your Honor, I can verify that Captain Morrison is exactly who he says he is. He's a legend in our department. 30 years, major crimes. He worked some of the biggest organized crime cases in the city's history. Medal of Valor, 3 times. When he retired in 2008, the entire command staff attended his ceremony. Jennifer's face had gone pale. But why didn't he identify himself? When Officer Rodriguez arrived, why didn't he? Because I was maintaining operational security, Lawrence said. If I'd identified myself as a retired captain conducting surveillance, it would have compromised 6 months of work. The East Side crew has informants everywhere. I needed them to think I was just an overzealous mall cop who got lucky. Detective Sullivan continued. About 2 weeks ago, Captain Morrison contacted me anonymously through our tip line. He provided detailed intelligence about drug distribution at Riverside Mall. We've been building a case based on his information. We were planning raids next month. Judge Hendricks looked at Derek Walsh, who had shrunk in his seat. Mr. Walsh, I'm going to ask you a question, and I strongly suggest you answer truthfully. Were you carrying narcotics when Mr. Morrison detained you? Derek looked at his attorney, at Jennifer, at the judge. His face crumbled. I didn't want to. They said if I didn't do it, they'd hurt my family. I owe them money. Gambling. I was stupid. But Derek pointed at Lawrence. He saved my life. Those guys were waiting. If I'd screwed up or if real cops had caught me, they'd have killed me. He pulled me out before they could. The courtroom was silent. Jennifer stood slowly. Your Honor, in light of this new information, the prosecution moves to dismiss all charges against Mr. Morrison. Motion granted, Judge Hendricks said immediately. She looked at Lawrence. Captain Morrison, you're free to go. And may I say, your dedication is remarkable, if highly irregular. Lawrence stood. Thank you, Your Honor. As people filed out of the courtroom, Detective Sullivan caught up with Lawrence in the hallway. Captain, the department would like to bring you on as a consultant. What you've documented is solid gold. We can take down the entire East Side distribution network. I'll think about it, Lawrence said. Why mall security? You could have called us 6 months ago, worked with us officially. Lawrence smiled slightly. Because officially, I'm retired. I collect my pension. I watch crime shows. But unofficially? Once you spend 30 years fighting crime, it doesn't leave you. I see patterns everywhere, and I can't just walk past them. Jennifer Brooks appeared, looking humiliated. Captain Morrison, I apologize. I didn't know. If I'd known who you were. If you'd known, you'd have treated me differently, Lawrence said. That's the problem. You saw an old mall security guard and assumed I was nobody. You didn't investigate. You didn't ask questions. You just assumed. I should have done better. Yes, you should have. Every defendant deserves a prosecutor who looks at the full picture, not just the easy narrative. 3 weeks later, the East Side crew raids made national news. 15 arrests, including 2 enforcers who'd been at the mall that day. Derek Walsh entered witness protection and rehab. The charges against him were dropped in exchange for testimony. Lawrence Morrison continued working at Riverside Mall. But now the department knew what he was really doing. They started sending him other locations to observe, other patterns to document. Officially, he was still just a security guard. Unofficially, he was one of the department's most valuable assets. One afternoon, Officer Rodriguez came by the mall, off duty. He found Lawrence on patrol. Captain Morrison, I wanted to apologize. I should have taken you seriously that day. Lawrence shook his head. You responded to what you saw. A security guard restraining someone. You did your job. But next time, maybe ask a few more questions before assuming someone's just a crazy old man. Rodriguez nodded. The department's talking about you. They say you were the best captain Major Crimes ever had. I was one of many good ones. But thank you. As Rodriguez left, Lawrence returned to his patrol. To anyone watching, he was just an elderly security guard making his rounds. But his eyes never stopped moving, never stopped analyzing patterns, never stopped seeing what others missed. The badge might be retired, but the cop never was. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more stories of quiet masters who prove that true expertise never retires. It just changes uniforms.